There we go. So, hello and welcome, Christine. I'm really thrilled that you've agreed to do this because you were one of the first on my list when I was thinking of and kind of request this subject. This matter has come up by request, but it's also been in the back of my mind quite a lot that we talk a lot generally, really generalizing. We talk a lot about perimenopause, but less so about the bit that comes after. The menopause bit is very much um, less of a topic, a headline. Post menopause, we're kind of a bit forgotten about.
Mm.
And I really want to bring to light some of the stories, some of the personal experiences. Um, so, yeah, welcome. Could you describe yourself for the viewers, the lovely ladies that will be watching and listening in?
Oh, so I'm Christine Walker. I'm I live in North Yorkshire. I moved to North Yorkshire nearly 4 years ago from living in Bedfordshire for 30 odd years, but I'm originally from South Shields beside Newcastle. And I live here in glorious North Yorkshire, overlooking the moors and the forest, which is absolutely beautiful. I live here with my beautiful dog, Dory, my husband, and my youngest son, who's 28. He's not leaving anytime soon. Professionally, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and a women's wellness coach. And I will talk about that in a minute, of how grief helped me find my real specialist subject within the coaching that I do. So yeah, I live from day to day. I kind of work part-time, self-employed, and I have a much more peaceful life than what I used to have.
Oh gosh, well that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, where we could go with that is so many different questions. When you talk about a peaceful life, does that mean that it was not peaceful in the past?
So so because I know you as well, Angie, I'm comfortable talking like spiritual type subjects as well. So when I lived down south for 30 odd years, I lived there with Miles, my pets, and my two boys. My oldest boy, Matt, it's like his soul signed up for all of these challenging situations as a teacher to teach us and from us to learn from him as well. And there was lots that went on, including his gambling, his cocaine addiction, the drink, the drugs, the suicide attempt. We had a lot of stuff that went on. And as a mother, I felt very, very out of control. And I was near the bottom. I was really near the bottom. And when we moved north, it was after, at the tail end of COVID. My husband's an architect. He'd lost his job twice during COVID. And there was just me and my younger son was earning. My younger son was working at the co-op in our village in Heath and Reach, and my older son had brought his girlfriend to live with us. Miles couldn't work. We weren't getting any government benefits, so I went to work at Aldi for 6 months, and what a workout that was. But it just got me out of the house and got me away from some of the stresses that were going on, the intense pressures and everything. So we made a decision that we couldn't afford to stay down in Heath and Reach. It was about half an hour from London where I lived, and it was just too expensive. So my mum had had her first diagnosis of cancer in South Shields, her first diagnosis way back in 2017. And it was a 4 year chapter of me constantly leaving Bedfordshire to go up north 4 hours, stay with her. And, over that 4 year period of my mum's, her cancer journey, I think I was solidly with her for about 2.5 years. So I had some escapism to get away. But anyway, going back to the piece. So we found this lovely house here in Gisborough where I remembered I'd been as a child on a coach trip with my nana and my uncle, and we've been to Redcar and Saltburn and all these lovely places that you hear about. And so we came up and viewed our house on the 1st of February 21. And we were thrilled to bits, and the lady accepted our offer. And as I was driving down the motorway back down south, I phoned my mum to say, Mum, we've got the house, we're going to be moving north. And in traditional Geordie voice, pet, she said, that's wonderful news. And then she said,
Mm.
She said, I have been recalled back to the hospital tomorrow, Christine, and I knew what that meant. So it was a very bittersweet thing. So that was the 1st of February when we got that, found the house. And the following week was going to be my on the 12th, it was going to be my birthday. So I went back up north to have my last birthday with my mum, my last Mother's Day with my mum. And then we moved here on the 28th of April, 2021.
Mm.
And the very next day is when I went back to South Shields for 5 months solidly, getting back on occasions, weekends, it was just an hour away from here. And I just stayed with her solidly. And, my mum died in my arms.
Mm.
And it wasn't Hollywood style, it's just, and you live with this anticipatory grief. And, I'd had anticipatory grief with my son, Matt, wondering how to keep him alive, because of all the things that he was going through, the challenges and everything. And I lost a lot of friends because of it, because I'm a trained clinical hypnotherapist and do a lot of counselling and stuff like that. And people used to say, Chris, you're just enabling Matt. And of course I know what that means, and I
Mm.
kind of was, but you love someone so much, you don't
Mm.
want them to come to harm. I'd rather that have happened to me. So anyway, once my mum had died, the grief still did hit me, but not immediately. And I don't know of your experience, but in the first year, you are on automatic pilot. You really are just trying to get through, maneuver this uncharted territory. And I was still going up and down the motorway to Bedford because Matt didn't want to come and live up north with us. And we were constantly bailing him out financially, practically everything. I was up and down the motorway. And I think I was using that as a distraction to just get away from my feelings.
Mm.
Uh, I was purposeful. I had something to do, even though it was quite negative. And it got to the point I could almost like hear my mum in my mind saying, she'd said it before, Christine, she said, I love Matt. She said, but you're my Ben, you're my child. And she said, and I love you too. She said, and your life matters. So after going up and down the motorways many times to Bedford and bailing him out, it was just, I took the stand, I grew a spine and just said, I love you, but I love you too, but I'm
Mm.
just walking away, Matthew. And I said, you've got an option. You either stay here and do what you're doing and repeating the same old cycles like I've been doing with you, and nothing changes, or you come up north. And he chose to come up north. So I helped him with his CV. He got a temporary job. He's in the water industry. And then he got a permanent job, and he's a water inspector and in the most amazing relationship with a beautiful girl she's a counsellor. She's
Oh,
got a degree in law, and she works at Stockton-on-Tees at the prison there as a counsellor and a coach. And she's like, well, where the heck did my mum sent her for us and that.
yeah.
So my life now is without drama. And it's weird, and it's like I'm thinking, God, what do I do? But I've just adjusted to it.
Mm.
And this place that I'm in now, I realize that I've come here to heal, because my life down there in South Bedfordshire, I've been there 30 odd years, had so many different chapters of my life. At one point, I had this career where I was a senior sports massage therapist, working with Paralympics at a place called the Goodman Centre by Stoke Mandeville Hospital. Had this great life and, voluntary work, and I was doing all these different things, and that to come up here and have nothing. And
Mm.
it's just like, I was just, oh my God. And then, of course, I was always leapfrogging. And so my experience of the post-menopause, it was coupled with all of this grief that was going on. So I
Mm.
think my symptoms that I had, like the brain fog and everything was just really exacerbated and amplified for me. And, I just tried to get through it. And then I just thought, I'm teaching all about self-care, but I'm not doing an awful lot myself.
Mm.
So, am I talking too much, Angie, by the way?
No, no, not at all. I love this.
So,
Keep
so
going.
it, so it came to, so it's 3.5 years since Mum died, but then it was probably about March of last year. I was really wanting to get my work off the ground again, but not really knowing exactly what that meant. So I wear two hats. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and a women's wellness coach, but then I do something called the Life and Soul Continuum Sessions, which is past life regression. It's life between lives, at the point of physical death, where does the soul go? And that's a deep dive of the soul. And then I do something called future life progression. And then I'm trained in end of life care and grief coaching. So that's the life and soul continuum sessions. And
Mm.
that's what I do an awful lot of. But I really wanted to get my women's wellness coaching off the ground. And it was probably about mid-March last year. It really rainy day. And I'm walking through the woods with Dory, my dog, who's 12 now. And I could really feel and sense my mum putting thoughts into my mind. And what she was saying to me, instead of just being a generalized women's wellness coach, I feel, Christine, this is honestly true. She said, I feel, Christine, that you should be specializing with the midlife woman who's
Mhm.
gone through any conceivable type of loss. And I really took that on board and I started thinking about it and I thought, but I'm a midlife woman. I was 62 weeks ago, I'm a midlife woman and I've had so many losses and so much in death. This is the thing. A lot of people think of loss as just being death. And
Mm.
whilst it's hard to trump death, there are
Yeah.
so many losses, especially in midlife.
Yeah.
And I made a list of about 45 things that could be potential losses, and I know there are even more than that.
Mm.
So once I started to put my focus into that, I started getting brave and having chats and with people in coffee shops and
Mm.
I've generated a little bit of work now, but I wanted to take it further. And I think that's important, because for midlife women, it could be the loss of a partner through death, or it
Mm.
could be a parent. You're obviously in midlife, and then suddenly a parent gets a terminal diagnosis or it could be something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or motor neuron disease. And that's going to change the trajectory of what you thought your life was going to be. We have our children at home longer and longer, as is in the case with Ollie, who's 28. And but the other one left, and I had empty nest syndrome.
Mm.
And I'm not one for it. I'm not worried about my age. I'm not worried about how I look. Everything's a chapter and it tells a story, so that doesn't bother me so much. But this could be a loss of career. There is so many different types
Yeah.
of losses that we would go through, and they're all very, very valuable, and it's maneuvering those changes day by day.
Mm.
And when people come to see me for grief, or certainly make the inquiry, it's it they don't come to me immediately, and that's because when something happens, especially through death, if someone dies that you love and that you respect, and you know the first port of call are your family, your friends, your colleagues, or even strangers. That's your first point of call. And then it takes a little while, and every journey is different. And I've said this before, it's not some tick list on a calendar. Your 6 months is up, you should be fine now. It's not, we just need to take step by step,
Mm.
and day by day. And what seems to be the thing now with grief, and certainly the way grief counselling is, that they're telling you to kind of oscillate between the two states. So, whilst there's this deep sadness and these outbursts or whatever it might be, and not eating and all the things that might go with grief, and maybe anger. And we know about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, her model of grief, denial or bartering, all of these different types of things. But then that can coexist with the joy and the happiness and having a bit of a laugh and things like that,
Mm.
even though initially we berate ourselves because we feel that the mourning, which is the outward expression of what people see when you've gone through a loss, maybe we feel it should be prolonged for other people's benefit as well. So there's no right or no wrong to it. It's just everything, a change and a transformation starts just with a conversation. But post menopause, I leading up to it as well. My last period was what, the 1st of June 2017, coinciding with Mum's first,
Yeah.
kind of thing, her first journey of the cancer.
Mm.
But I just think now, post menopause, I'm kind of stepping into myself because, on the one hand, because I haven't done the big part of my work for a very long time. It's different to what I did when I lived down south
Mm.
because I've had more chapters added to my book of life.
Mm.
So I was thinking, well, who am I to think I could be a grief coach and I could do this and I could do that? Even though I've got the training and the lived experience, there's this part of you that has this imposter syndrome, which is that new term where you don't feel that you're authentic or genuine, and you compare yourself to so many people. And but you know what? It is what it is. And then now I see the wise side of being post-menopause as well. This wisdom that's like inside of you. Of course, I'm not my 17-year-old self or my 30-year-old self who was really dynamic. She was go-getting. She would have these chats, she would do these things, she would go and tout for business and all of that. And I'm doing none of that. But that's okay as well, because I think it brings that peace to me as well,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and that's how I feel like really at peace now. Of course, you know, and like with my mum, and I don't know what other people's experience of losing someone to death is, but my mum, it was like calling the midwife. My mum had me when she was 20. She had me out of wedlock.
Mm,
Was encouraged by people outside of the family to not have me. And but you know, my nana wouldn't allow that happen, and my nana would move mountains to help my mum, who was 19 when she felt pregnant, 20 when she had me. And you know, thinking about my mum had a really difficult, hard life, a lot of challenges with her health. And even though I know what I know through coaching and nutrition and everything, she was brought up on the NHS, and that's what she thought. She never berated or put down what I did. And she would drink the liquid chlorophyll and get the magnesium inside of her and all of these things. But, you know, with her gone now, when she first died, it was just like, I don't, she's, I've got an amazing husband, amazing boys, amazing family. But my mum was the love of my life,
yeah.
my love of my life. And so because of that, I didn't want, I would never do anything to myself. But this period of going through the grief and integrating it and trying to process it and that, I just felt like I didn't want to live without her. But now, time going by, and it takes time. It does take time. You know, now I just think I want to live because of her. She gave me life, and I want to live because of her and make her proud. I know that she's observing me and guiding me from a much higher, clearer perspective, you know, and I just, that's what I want to do. And so life has got new meaning, but it just takes time for that to happen. And I love my life. I do love my life, you know. So there you go.
Mm. That's so lovely. And we've known each other. I was trying to think. It could be 10 years.
It is.
It could, yeah. And I never tire of hearing all of these stories and the threads of it, and there's so many threads to us, and you pull it together in a way that feels like that was the direction you were meant to go in. Those are the choices you were meant to be
Mm.
taking, and things happened along the way in chaos and order, but also in a way that's so meaningful.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't want to belittle it by saying yes. It's all very. It sounds really trite to say that it's a beautiful journey. Um, I don't want to take away from the pain that you've been through to get to this point, but it sounds just so respectful of who you are and the things that you've been through. Yeah, it's
I think that's correct. You know, I think about because of my I have an injury, so I sleep separately to my husband. I sleep in the spare room where Matthew used to sleep, and and I have photos of my mum and my dad and my nana. They're my trio, you know, and who've been the most impressionable people. They've been my greatest teachers on so many levels, and you know, I give gratitude. I'm here because of them, and I don't know, I love what I'm doing now. I think, you know, when I was growing up, my nana, and I think I've possibly said this before on another chat we've had, but my nana, she was the chairperson of the Spiritualist Church in South Shields.
mm,
So so as a little girl, I used to see spirit like I'm seeing you now. And my nana was like this guru, this kind of guide for me. And she was this wise woman. And as I got into my you know, as I got into my 20s, she died when I was 26. And as I got into my 20s, and I tried to think, well, Nana, you know, you're this chairperson of the Spiritualist Church, you're an elder at the Methodist Church, and you got the Salvation Army. How can that happen? You
Mm.
can't bring that, they're all in opposite directions,
Yeah.
bipolar, you know, you can't do that kind of thing. But she was this wise, peaceful, loving woman. She didn't have much, you know, and but she made everything happen in that, and just the love that shone out of her. And I think that's the thing. We don't need an awful lot to make us okay. We do. I think, you know, it's very accepted now, and you see all over social media that, you know, we want experiences
Mm.
instead of like the material things. And you know, when I was first with Miles, my husband, you know, we both worked in like London, had these major jobs in London. I worked at a private bank, and you know, George Michael was one of the people that used to come and see me in a room, and I'd give him tea and all that. All of that was, yeah, that was way back then, and I was impressionable in that. But, and also, you know, because I come from not having much in the Northeast, we didn't have much as family. You know, I remember getting like the curtains to match the cushions, and the cutlery and the glasses, and everything matches, and it was habitat and all that kind of stuff. None of that matters, but it's a chapter, and it's something that you can tell your grandchildren eventually.
Mm.
Now the experiences are much more meaningful for me. And, you know, I think my life's purpose is just to be of service. And that's not, I don't know what the word is, I've forgotten what the word is. It's not meant to sound overly altruistic. It's just, it's an innate sense. It's a feeling.
Mm.
Everything is a feeling for me that I'm just being of service. And of course, we know we have challenges in the world right now. And I quite often will turn things off. And it's not that I'm in denial about it. You know, when I see the adverts for the animals getting hurt, I'm not in denial of anything like that. I just try and go within and compose myself and just ask for love and light and compassion to go to these areas, because I know we have it within us as human beings. We're not born bad people. We learn these behaviors, you know. And so it's just about, I've just found a sense of peace, and I found a sense of meaning through what I'm doing. And I
Mm.
heard a phrase many, many years ago, and I have no desire to be on the big world stage like Oprah Winfrey. For me, it's just small community. So I'm not on social media very much because I don't I don't like it the way I used to when I was a bit younger.
Mm.
Now it's about reconnection, you know, like Gisborough's a very, very small little town on the edge of North Yorkshire. And, you know, but it's lovely. Places I used to come as a child, and everything goes full circle again. And I think the phrase that I learned was reach one, teach one. And it's like you're sewing a daisy chain around the world. That's what you're doing. A
Mm.
daisy chain of light and compassion and that, because we have got it inside of us, you know.
Mm. Yeah, you. I get this feeling. I think you're aware of one of my favorite authors, who was a psychologist, Sharon Blackie, and her way of bringing the um, archetypes to life through story and sharing mythology and spirituality coming through that as well. And for me, there's a definite tie in to the wise woman. You epitomise that for me. That just being at peace with yourself where you've been, and grounded and so authentic, and it doesn't mean there's never going to be challenges again, but you know that it just feels like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get through this, and I'll be all right.
Think this older part of me, or this more peaceful part of me, and when it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, my oldest friends, Gail and Kerry from school, one's in York, one's in Durham, and I'm seeing them this afternoon for a hot tub party.
Mm.
And but they surprised me. One of the, again, knowing I didn't want more, I don't want another necklace. I don't want chocolates. I don't want flowers. And that's not to, I'm very grateful for everything, but I don't want, I just want your time.
Mm.
The thing that money can't buy. So what they did for me, they took me over to, it was a magical mystery tour. I hadn't got a clue where I was going, but they took me to a place called the Maggie Fleming Animal Hospice. It's in Dumfries and Galloway. So we went, I thought we were going into Carlisle and Cumbria, but no, we detoured into Scotland. And even about 20 minutes before we got there, I didn't know where I was going because like Kerry, who was driving, she carefully put the sat nav so I couldn't see any.
Oh no.
And and then when she did tell me, I just absolutely broke down because it meant the world to me. The animal hospice and what this wonderful girl Alexis does for these animals and her own journey, her own again her own story,
Mm,
and that's what I wanted, and that's what I want in my life. I just want to have meaning and purpose in my life, and like and just
mm,
connect with everybody. Every life matters, and I'm going to shamefully say this. I remember when I was working in London, and again, I was 22 years old. I'd come from relative nothing in the northeast to going down London, wear my little Marks and Spencer suits with my hair all lovely, my brooch, my scarf, and all that. And I'd get off the tube. I'd come into Euston. I'd get off the tube at Green Park, walk up the stairs, and there was homeless people everywhere with the big issue and all the different magazines and that. And of course, my lack of knowledge, my ignorance and my arrogance way back then was, well, that no one needs to be, it's a choice to be homeless.
mm.
Oh my God, again, the wisdom that comes from going through experience
Yeah.
it could be any one of us. It could have been Matthew, it could have been this, it could have been that. And and going back, I wear my humanity, I wear my humanness so well. My spirituality is a very different thing, and of course I know so much from my experiences of my spirituality and all the things that I do, out of body experiences. Oh, that's another story. But all of those things that I do, and I feel like a method actor that is on planet Earth, really immersed in my story.
Mhm.
And then I have to, so for those of us who are old enough to remember Mork and Mindy with the amazing Robin Williams, no, 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 no. He would, on a night time when everything was quiet in the house, he would put his suit on and he'd reconnect with the mothership. And Orson, got like the mothership would say, so what have you learned today, Mork? And that's how it is. It's about, me, and I don't always just sit in meditation. I think when I'm walking, it's your best thing when you're walking, and it gives you these downloads and these thoughts, and thoughts give you feelings, and feelings give you action or non-action, depending on what is needed. And it just comes in the right way, Angie. It really does, and that's what's given me that peace now. And going back to the homeless thing, that could have been Matthew, it could have been any one of us. We were at rock bottom. My mum and dad used to row over money. We could have been homeless. And so the empathy that I've garnered over the years, having gone through experience, that's what
Yeah.
makes me me now. And I don't berate my younger self who didn't know any different. It's just I kind of blow her a kiss and just say, put my arm around her and just say, when you didn't know what you didn't know, but when you do know, you do better, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel now. And I'm not some goddess or anything like that.
Mm.
I'm just me. And going back to Gail and Kerry, my friends from school, there is a slight story here. So, um, there was just the two of us. There was me and Gail. We were friends, like from the age of 8. My mum had married my stepdad. That's who I call dad. So my mum had married my stepdad, and we'd gone to another part of South Shields, and I went to a different school. So Gail was my first friend that I made there. Then come to the age of 12, and when we got into comprehensive school, this new girl came from Northampton, and this was Kerry, and she was beautiful. She was this like skinny little thing, with these beautiful, beautiful little face. And I was really jealous and that, because I was quite hurt because Gail was paying her too much attention. Imagine now I would have put something on social media to really shame her. Oh my God, thank God we didn't have that. But way back then, the point of this is way back then, Gail was the very naturally, effortlessly clever one who sailed through her exams, her degree, all of that kind of thing. Carrie was the very beautiful one. I wasn't either of those. I was the one that made people laugh.
Mhm.
I could make people laugh, and it became a currency, and it was an exchange. It was currency, and I used that currency to take into my teenage, in my 20s, going down to London, and all of that. Until then, it doesn't work again. And you play all these different roles, and we talk about authenticity and being genuine. Yes, I do make people laugh, but I was doing it just to be liked, to be fit, to be fitting in. Please like me, please approve of me. And that went on for years, you know, even losing my friends through what they thought was enabling Matthew. It's a painful loss. These are all the losses that we can go through for whatever reason, you know, until you come out the other side, whenever that might be. And now all I do is I am so grateful for every person that has been on I think about the Wizard of Oz and like Dorothy and her companions all trying to get the Emerald City, but different pathways.
Mm.
And all the people that have been on my pathway with me, and they've come and they've gone, they've come, some have stayed. I'm just really grateful because they've been my greatest teachers. And that's what we are. We're teachers and students all at the same time. It's a very cohesive approach. We're learning from each other, with each other, and for each other, you know. It's just life is amazing. It really is. I couldn't have said that a few years back, but I
Yeah.
can now. And I'm just grateful for everything. Feel beat me now because I really do.
Yeah, gosh, oh, I feel that. I feel that really deeply. And with a lot of these conversations, I suppose I'm hoping to, you know, when we get to midlife and we're in our elder years and our hopefully our wise woman years and our experiences and the scenarios, situations we've been in, the people we've met, and all these different things that make us who we are. I suppose my hope is that, maybe there's a common thread that runs through us all. Like, this is what if I focus on this, then I can reach this sort of level of maturity, like these wonderful women that I know. Um, and I am seeing some of these common threads, but it's also deeply, deeply personal and very individual. Um, and something that you said about, well, all that you said about empathy for yourself, towards others. I wonder if is that your golden thread that has pulled these things together?
Yeah.
Or is it too difficult to even define?
Possibly both of those things, but I think empathy that has come through experience of me having my own experiences.
Mm,
So you know, when I do my kind of regression work and all the things I do, I teach my clients about karma, and some people think it's some kind of like a punitive God or a punishing God. It's not that. The word karma just is the flip side of the coin. Have we got time? Can I give you an example?
mm.
Yeah, thank you. Just being given this example by Spirit. Hang on, I'm shutting the curtains. It's really too sunny. God, that's amazing. Um, so going back to the example of being at school. Okay, so imagine now two 13-year-old girls who are best friends at school. Yeah. And then the new girl comes from that new geographical area. So what would you do now? You you're hurt because it's a bit like having an affair. It's like, you know, your best friend snuck off with this new girl. It's not the
Mm,
new girl's fault. It's your
mhm,
best friend's paying a bit too much attention. I don't like it, you know. So what do? You get yourself on social media, you put something on there that's a big lie, and you say something quite hateful about her, and it goes viral, and you feel quite smug. But the girl, your best friend is horrified, will never talk to you again. The girl, you've really hurt the girl, and that, you know. So karma, you would think, would her being do the same thing back to me. It's not like that at all, because it won't have the same emotional impact. I might have a bit of guilt inside me a few weeks on, but it doesn't matter, you know, I'm right, you're wrong kind of thing. As you go through life, you might be in your 30s, 40s, you might have children, you might not. You might have an experience that comes up whereby someone does something to you that gives the same feeling that that new girl had all of those
mm,
years ago.
mm,
And you can feel it strongly. And that's what true karma is, the flip side of the same coin, like for like. Having that feeling. It's not the thought, it's not the actions, it's the feelings that come up that teach you about karma. And so that's where I come from a point now as I reflect back over my life. Again, I don't, you know, bad behavior is bad behavior. And it's just like, for God's sake, what were you thinking about way back then?
mm,
But some of the other stuff, it's just like she didn't know any different, you know. And when she when she does know it, she does something different now. She does something better. She would never dream of doing that again, you know.
Mm,
And that's kind of how we are. We learn through experiences. It's not always instant, you know. It'll take its time for us to get the greater learning from it. And that's where my wisdom is now, because I'm more proactive than reactive, coming from a place of compassion as opposed to a place of hurt. You know, and even, you know, and we see it all over social media. I see it in my local Facebook group, and everyone's having a whinge and a moan. And a part of being a hypnotherapist as well is, or kind of work I do, is reframing it. So what's the flip side of what's really going on here? And wondering what the other side of the story is, because there are two sides to the story. So after all this time, I've become non-judgmental. I
mm,
just allow it to be. Can I just show you? Where is it here? A friend bought this for me for my birthday. Can you see
mm.
that there, Angie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the let them theory hasn't been developed by Mel Robbins. She's just adding to it and curating it and stuff like that. And that's what it is. And it's just like, if people want to be like that, well, just let them. It's
Mm,
part of their story. They're at a place of what they know. They don't know anything different at the moment, or they might do, but just let them. You don't have to react. You know, you show compassion and just be at peace with yourself, and
mm,
don't let anyone touch that peace, kind of thing, and protect it. And
mm,
that's the part I've got to. And honestly, if, you know, years ago when I had dark clouds hanging over me, I didn't even know if I'd get through all of this, you know. And but you do somehow, and you do it with love and support. And it's not always the love and support of the people that you think are obvious. For me, it's a lot about the unseen world as well that I have. I have like an A team, you know, whether we call this angels, guides, animal spirits, whatever. There are an A team there because they know that my heart is good, and I'm just here to, you know, being a method actor through this life. That's what I'm doing until I take my last breath. So that's kind of where I am right now.
mm. Oh, that is such a lovely description. It really is. Yeah. I think that's I don't know what to add to that. There's no there's no way of really summarizing. I don't want to summarize all that you've said because it would just dilute it. So yeah, I think that's a lovely place to finish on.
Thank
Um,
you. It's a story. It's just my story, but there'll be lots of other women that are like me as well. You know, what is the old adage? You know, if you keep on doing what you've always, I can't remember who said that. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you get the same result. There's no change, is there?
mm, mm,
So, you know, you do what's one thing different that you're going to do, and that forms my coaching. You know, what will you
yeah,
stop doing, and what will you start doing?
yeah,
But it takes a lot to do that. You know, it's been journaling, it's been all sorts of things that have brought that to my attention now. I'm a different person for my family. This growing spine or a pair of balls, you know, it continues on now. That the desire that I had again was probably the approval, even as a mum, to rush in and save my own children, you know, not realizing I was doing it to be approved of or be liked. You know, I wasn't helping them, you know, but now I can say no, you know, and you know, with my son Matt, his tax is due on the car. We finance all the car, like this little rundown, clapped out car. But I'm handing it over to him next week because, again, I'm not going to compromise what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to have some choices that are available to me. He might need to be where we were when we had nothing as when they were children.
mm,
And it's all about learning. It doesn't mean we don't love. To
mm,
love is to make tough choices, to say things that might be perceived by them as hurtful, but you're doing it from, it's what you would call tough love.
mm,
You know, you're doing it because you're protecting them, but you're protecting yourself as well. And
yeah,
that's what you're doing. So
yeah.
thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
And I'll add some links if people want to hear more about what you do and read about some of the other experiences and things that you've gone through. Then yeah, I'll put things of your choice. I'll link those into this video.
well, I'm coming into the 21st century. Years ago, I used to have a website called Seasons of the Soul, which
Oh,
was much more spiritual. But now again, just walking and meditation. A long time ago when I lived down south, Spirit gave me the idea of the Happy Life formula, but
Mm.
it's now tailored to, I'm literally having the chat next week. It's going to get started, my new website next week. So I just feel quite excited about that. And it's not great, big and showy. And then, of course, you know, being my Aquarian self, it's just like, well, what does happiness mean? For one person's happiness could be another person's horror. What does happiness mean? So later on in the year, when I've got my act together, I want to invite you to talk as well on what happiness means. And it's a natural, organic flow of conversation. It's not low. When I first did my first podcast, it was, I had stuff stuck to my screen everywhere. Ask this question, and it's just not you. Just you're missing a trick. It's just a natural flow of conversation, and that's what I have with my clients. It's always a discovery call to just see where they're at, if we're a good fit, that kind of thing, and just have a conversation, and just for them to be seen and heard. That's
Mm.
what it is, you know. So yeah, that'd be great, Angie. Thank you.
Mm, thank you.
Thank you, darling.